Crimson Glory, welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you guys doing today?
Great, how are you?
I'm good. Introduce yourself and tell me what you do in the band.
Ben Jackson, guitar player.
Travis Wills, singer.
Obviously, the band came back after a long absence. What sparked this reunion?
It was our desire for a while to bring the band back. It just seemed like the time was right. You know, some years had passed by and some of us were doing different things, and just Dana and Jeff and I had spoken about it a few times. And, it seemed like now was the time.
How much planning went into it? Because, I mean, you can't just call the guys and everybody drops what they do and become a band again.
No, we just talked about it. You know, actually there was a couple other singers that we spoke to a little bit before Travis. So a few things were shaking, you know, over a couple years' time before we actually came out with the news. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just something we were knocking around the idea for a while.
So who is back from the original band at this point?
Dana Burnell, drummer, Jeff Lords, bassist, and myself, Ben Jackson, guitar.
Obviously, the biggest question will always be who will be handling the vocals. So, Travis, how did you find these guys? Ben, how did you find him?
Travis, why don't you tell a little bit about that?
Jeff and I had been friends on Facebook, and there's some topics that we don't necessarily agree on, and we'd spar every now and then, and he decided to see who this guy was that he kept sparring with, and he found out that I sang, and he heard one of my songs from my band Infidel Rising, and he hit me up and asked me if I was interested in singing a few Crimson Glory songs. I said, yeah, sure. And I got the music and sang Painted Skies, and in no way did I think that they would be interested in my singing. And sure enough, they liked it, and I'm like, well, hold on, I can do this a lot better. So I went back in and re-sang it and really gave it my all, and the guys really liked it, and they wanted to hear a few more tunes. And I went in there and sang a few. I think it was Azrael and Where Dragons Rule, and they liked it. And they had already had music for the new album, and asked me to throw something down on it. And they liked what they heard, and we just kept working away. And that's how I ended up in the band.
What initially attracted you to his voice?
Well, just the tone of his voice. He's got a really nice tone voice, you know, the way he sings, the intensity, the good pitch, everything, you know. He sings the style of metal that we like, which is kind of, you know, a prog style. Mm-hmm. It's not, you know, it's not one of the screamers that just kind of scream, but someone that cares more about tone and melody. So.
Same question. What attracted you to the band?
I've been a fan of the band since Transcendence. I had no idea they had an album before Transcendence. Whenever I first listened to them, that was back in probably 88, 89.
It's a collector's item.
And it wouldn't.
The first one?
First one, yeah. It was hard to find at one point.
Yeah.
Oh man, the first song I heard was Lady of Winter, and I was like, oh, wow, this band is incredible. And I'd been friends ever since. And actually, the club I worked at, they played, and back then they would have these square, they looked like about the size of an album cover, but a little bit bigger, and they would put them on the sides of the wall of the club, and I actually took one of those and I hung it in my bedroom and had that on my wall for years until I don't know what happened to all my posters and stuff after I moved out, but of my mom's, but yeah, I'd always been big fans of the band.
And Travis, give us your musical background.
Well, I started off as a drummer, and I started playing drums when I was 13. Was in a marching band. Played until I was about 25, and I couldn't find any bands that wanted to do the music that I was doing. So I ended up taking guitar lessons from a guy named, I started taking guitar lessons from my best friend Alan. And from there, then I went to this guy named Joel Gregoire, who was the guitar player for Stride. And he was taught by Paul Gilbert. And I took lessons from him for about a year. And I was able to write my own songs, and then I just started singing. And so now I got to the point to where I could put out a demo of something and say, this is what I'm looking to do. And so that's when I created Infidel Rising, because I would try to explain to them, this is what I want to do, and they were like, then, you know. So I went ahead, and eventually it took some time, and I found members that wanted to do what I was doing, and then yeah, I just started singing and stayed on vocals the rest of the time, because there seemed like there was more of a people were looking more for better singers than they were guitar player or drummer, so I just stayed with vocals.
How long did it take you to rehearse before you truly felt like we're back?
Oh, wow.
How many rehearsals did we get?
Not that many.
Like
Because
3?
Travis lives in Texas and we all live in Florida. So,
Uh-huh.
so we had, maybe 8 rehearsals or so of just the musicians before Travis came over and joined us for 1 or 2 rehearsals. So we might have had maybe that many before we went out and did our first show with Travis and Mark, the new members. But everything felt together pretty well. You know, the first show was strong from what everyone says, and the video seemed to show that we were pretty strong, minus a couple little things. But it's gotten better and better with every show. It just keeps getting better now that we're kind of back doing it, playing festivals and traveling around. Every show we do, we seem to get a little stronger.
And recently you had a huge appearance at Keep It True Festival. How did things go?
Yeah, that was our first one. Our first show when we were, it went very well. Great crowd, and so we had a couple little minor moments where things weren't
Which
seamless.
only you noticed?
Yeah, wasn't seamless, but it was actually a really strong show, and like I say, each one since then, we just seem to be building a nice momentum, and we're getting, to where we feel each other out on better on stage, who's doing what and who's playing what and who's, some of the moves. It's getting a lot more comfortable.
Any new recordings?
Yeah, we're in the midst of the new album. It's, probably 3/4 of the way finished. We're in the last couple months of work on it now, I think. And
What direction is it going to take? I mean, you've been known to do concepts, but also albums that just have songs. So which way are you going?
It's not a concept album, but it's got a lot of really cool songs, all with interesting topics. The style really harkens back to the sound of the first 2 albums in a lot of ways. I think Travis, although he has his own unique voice and tone, he has the ability to sound like Midnight here and there too, and channel some of that vibe, that Midnight vibe, which is great. In just enough of a way that I think the fans are really going to love that. And all I say, the songs are similar to the first 2 albums. In my opinion, it's even a little more progressive than the first 2 albums. This new album, even a little more modern, a little more progressive. If you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, I would say so. Jeff did almost all of the writing on the music, and and then I wrote the melodies. And sometimes Jeff was like, "Yeah, I'm married to this part. Sing this way," and I'm like, "Okay," which is fine with me. I think the fans are totally going to love this album as what I've said before. There's a lot of hat tipping to midnight in it, and the things that I think that the fans really love about Midnight. You'll hear the hat tipping to him in that, and that's because he's such a unique and incredible vocalist that me being able to have the ability to do some of the stuff that he can do, not perfect, but in a way that honors him, was important to me, and I think it's important to the fans as well. And that was my goal.
Well, it wasn't just Midnight, it was also the band, the combination of music and vocals that made it so special. And
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you just joined a very much an established band, so what do you think you bring to the table?
Well, I don't think I strayed too far off the path of the first two albums. A lot of times, when a new singer comes and they allow them to write melodies and words, things can change. I don't think that I strayed too far off the path. So I think that when fans hear it, they won't. I don't know how to say this. They'll be happy with the results.
You've mentioned the new album is about to be coming out. How long did it take you to write this material? Was that something completely new or something you've been writing for years?
A few of the ideas for some of the songs on this album go back a couple years that Jeff had in the works. Armor Against Fate, Indelible Ashes. These songs are a couple years old. A lot of them, are songs that just Jeff and Travis kind of brainstormed out, in the last half a year. Some of them, they just got on a writer's flow and kind of, banged out a bunch of songs. There's all of it's pretty fresh material, all written within the last couple years.
Do you know who will release this album?
Yeah, Brave Words Records.
And what will the title be?
Do we want to say that now, or I don't know. I don't know if we're really
Keep it a secret or give it
I don't
away?
think we're really releasing the title just yet.
Okay.
I think we have to wait until the label and us decide the date that we want to say it on the Brave Words news site.
Now, in the early stages of Crimson Glory, you guys had a very specific image, and it seems like some of it is back. So what kind of an image are you projecting now?
Still just a dynamic look, we like to dress the part. We don't like to look like just your everyday bums up there, but we experimented with some new modern masks when we first released the new look of the band being back, but I think we're already moving towards now going on a maskless look. We're getting ready to schedule some new photo shoots. We kind of showed the fans that, we can do different variations of the masks, and we can, whether they're full face, half face, these modern futuristic ones we worked with, but we can go with them or without them, They're not really so much needed for us. And
Now, in the past, Crimson Glory was always more popular in Europe. Why do you think the band caught on with that market? And fan base, of course.
I just think that the European fans, there's a real strong metal movement over there, metal family, if you will. It's a brotherhood, a sisterhood of just people that just really get into metal. And it's not that we don't have it, metal fans here, but maybe it's slightly different over there, a little bit more steadfast. It's like they really hold on to what they call true metal over there, and a lot of people still love the metal of the '80s and that style. Now, where people here sort of, you know, they follow things as they come and go through the decades, and this is what we're gonna like now because this is what everybody likes now. But over there, they really hang on to, you know, the whole true metal vibe, and it gets passed down to generations, because if you see like a lot of the fans that come see us over there, I mean, they're like fans that we had years ago. It's their kids, and they're coming with their teenage kids and daughters and sons, and they're there, and they're wearing the metal jackets with all the patches, and they're into metal. So it's just a little bit of a stronger thing over there.
We just
You know,
we
that's-
just played Poland,
Yeah.
and there was this 10-year-old, maybe 8-year-old girl on the very front stage, singing every word, and I was like,
Yeah.
"That's
And,
crazy. That's
dedication."
Beautiful. It was beautiful.
So why we're not as popular here? It's not just that we're not. I just don't think metal is in general as popular.
But do you think the American audiences caught up to what Crimson Glory is trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, they did. We have a pretty good fan base in America too. Just it was a little more underground.
Because I'm thinking back to that show in '89 when you were in your prime, pretty much. You played 2 awesome shows, and most of the people, like, they didn't know what to make of you.
Oh, and the Thirsty Whale.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember we played 2 that afternoon.
Yeah, they were like all ages show and 21 and over, and it was both fantastic shows. And there were people who completely got it, but there were a big bunch who were like, "What just happened?" Like in a state of shock, not knowing whether to like it or to kind of just
We were
let
one
it
of
go.
those bands that at the time were, I can understand people might not know what to make of us if they
Yeah.
weren't too familiar with us before we rolled through there. You know, they just see us come out with these masks
And you guys were walking with the masks around. I mean, it was an image that kind of stayed on,
Yeah.
which was cool, you know.
yeah.
So where do you want to take this band from now on?
Well, we just want to bring it back and, you know, do a couple records that our fans will enjoy, and hopefully we'll make some new fans. And just, you know, enjoy ourselves doing it.
You also have a legacy because you had been around. You've made some legendary records. Is it easy to live with that type of legacy? Trying to restart things.
It's not that hard for us, I think, to live up to, because we have the goods, you know. But I mean, there is a legacy to live up to. I guess those first 2 records are people really look up to them. They hold them high, and it feels good that people love them that much. You know, we're proud of those records. But I think the record we're putting out now it will stand up as far as, you know, just craftsmanship of the craft of just creating music. And Travis said Jeff's really written some fantastic music for this record, and Travis has co-written a lot of the songs, and I've co-written a song or a couple parts in a couple songs. It's really, you know, we come together. Dana writes all his own drum parts. He's very creative, always has been, and Mark's creating his own solos. You know, it's just a team effort, and the record we put out is going to be very modern, progressive, dynamic. I think people are going to be blown away by it.
Travis.
Just like the old ones.
For sure.
Yeah.
Travis, how do you deal with that legacy?
Man, when they told me that they wanted me to sing for them, it scared me to death, because I was like, I'm no Midnight.
Uh-huh.
And you know, I'm taking. You want me to take the place of someone who has like one of the hardest catalogs in vocal history. You're wanting me to do this, and I was very nervous, and I'm still nervous. Because I'm competing not with Midnight, but I'm competing with the nostalgia of that era, and you know, it weighs on me for sure. and you know, I guess one thing I want to let the fans know is, you know, I miss Midnight just as much as anybody else. You know, I miss hearing his voice just as much as they do. I'm not trying to replace him in any way. I just, you know, I just want to honor the guy and do the best I can. So.
And the fans are loving it. They're loving what you're doing now with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
We mentioned Midnight a few times, so what memories do you have of Midnight since he's no longer with us, sadly?
We have stockpiles of memories, you know, Midnight, Dana and I and all of us, just good, you know, very good stuff. Laughs. We've had, you know, travels where we've all cut up and acted like, you know, teenagers goofing off, you know, just great memories, you know. Some highs and lows, you know, definitely like really nights where we performed where everything was really electric and he was fantastic. You know, some other shows where things would fall a little apart, you know, we've got all kinds of memories, you name it, you know.
Fantastic. So finally, why is Crimson Glory a beast that just refuses to go away?
Well, I feel like this band really should have more albums out to our years of being in existence than we do. I feel like we're
Right?
a band that's kind of like we've come and with some big blasts of work and creativity and then gone away for maybe a decade and come back, and for whatever reason, you know, there's too many to name, but I mean, I think the band could have been bigger and done so much more if we would have just
Absolutely.
stayed a little bit more on a constant flow through the years instead of going away and coming back so many times. Maybe kept, you know, maybe a record out every few years. I think we should have had a catalog of maybe 10 or 12 records by this point, but that's neither here nor there. That's, you know, these are years gone by, but you know, here we are again, and we're really, the focus is on this record. We're going to put out a really great record, and who knows what tomorrow will bring. I think we may have another couple records in us. I feel we do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have a powerful singer, you have a good band, you're playing good.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.